minus 10 minutes. Minus 9 minutes. Minus 8 minutes. Minus 7 minutes. 5 minutes. T-minus for minutes. T-minus 3 minutes. T-minus 2 minutes. T-minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
Holla, holla, we dem boys. Welcome to a brand new week, everybody. It is the RP Show, coming to you live on the Game Plus Television Network. Around the world, streaming and podcast form if that's your thing. It's RP here. No Moose. Moose not here. He's at the Jeux Canada Games in Newfoundland. He'll be checking in over the next couple weeks, but not today. Not today. We've got Mo Egger coming up in hour 2 from ESPN Cincinnati, 1530 on your AM dial. And our co-host today is a good longtime friend of ours, no stranger to the program, James Gallo, the voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors and PA announcer of the Moose Jaw Millers, joining us as the co-host for the next 40 minutes. What's up, JG?
Just starting a Monday off, right? Get the week off with a bang, I guess. Do a little Rod Pedersen show and then get on the highways to Winnipeg.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you joined us to talk some sports here, James. As you know, nothing too groundbreaking, but ladies and gentlemen, we do the warm-up here in this opening segment of the program, and we go with the quick six show horn, the big story. James is a baseball guy. We're going to start with the Major League Baseball. James is actually a broadcaster, too, as I said, so you didn't even ask me, James, what we were going to talk about today. That smacks of confidence. That's confidence.
Well, I've known you long enough, Rod, that there's not going to be not that many big surprises. I trust you enough with that.
Yeah. I'm not going to hook you, but you knew we would start with baseball. The big story across Canada is the Blue Jays. Mason Fluharty earned his first career save in spectacular fashion Sunday after replacing erratic Blue Jays closer Jeff Hoffman in the ninth inning with the bases loaded and one out. The rookie lefty struck out Shohei Ohtani with a full count breaking ball before getting Mookie Betts on a game-ending grounder to help the visiting Jays register a 5-4 victory and avoid a 3-game sweep against the NL West leaders. I got home just in time in the 8th to turn this on, and it was insane at Dodger Stadium. The atmosphere, Blue Jays, they salvaged this. As I said, they avoided the sweep. James, how much was your eye on the Dodgers and the Blue Jays this weekend?
I watched as much as I could. Game 1, watched a lot of Game 1, Game 2 until it got out of hand, and then I was done. I hit the channel pretty quick on that. Yesterday, I was in and out. My wife was really into it. I came home. Ernie Clement hit his home run. I said, "Hey, Jays are up 5-4." She said, "Really? Must have just happened." So that happened at the top of the ninth inning, and finished the game off. But for Fluharty to come in and face two of the best, right? Like Shohei Ohtani could be considered one of the greatest of all time already. And to strike him out and they get Mookie Betts with a ground out, it's pretty impressive. A lot of stones on those plays, but you're always good as your next one. And they got the Cubs coming up, and then the Texas Rangers. So it's going to be a really big week, I think, for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, if it was a World Series preview, and I wouldn't say that it's not, doesn't really scare me. Do you think if it is? How would you feel about going up against it? There's a lot of work to be done until then, but I think that would be a hell of a series.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. I think the Jays need to figure out their bullpen a little bit more. With Shane Bieber possibly coming back, the situation with Alek Manoah. There's been talk, if you listen to some other broadcasters, about possibly going to a 6-man rotation. Thoughts of who would potentially be on the playoff roster and leaving guys off. I argue that you can never have enough pitching, right? You can never have enough pitching. If Shane Bieber and Alek Manoah make your pitching staff, your starting rotation, and your bullpen better, you just move someone out who's not as good. Simple as that. So I don't know if I would call it a World Series or playoff preview with the Jays and the Dodgers, more than I would say that's a good playoff benchmark for the Blue Jays, because they are still a young team learning to win on the big stage.
Yeah, well, we're post-trade deadline now. I mean, what they have is what they have, and you're watching that Dodgers team, the Freddie Freemans, the Shohei Ohtanis out there. They're legit. And we got this Fluharty, who? Wolferdino? Like, these are not household names, right? But as you say, they're learning on the big stage.
For the Jays too, no Jimenez, no Springer, right? So it's not it's not their lineup, if you want to call it that. It's not the best lineup the Jays can put forward. Time will tell as those guys come back from injuries. Still, a lot can happen. I think they just need to focus on day after day. Be better, today than you were yesterday. Be better tomorrow than you were today. It's a young team that hasn't been in this situation, and when the calendar switches to September, the atmosphere changes in baseball. It's the same thing in hockey. When you get to March, things are different. You need to do things differently. Rosters get bigger in baseball for the month of September, but now you're fighting for a spot to be on the playoff roster. It's going to be key, I think, for the Jays to finish strong. I'd like to see them avoid that 3-game series. I think that would be better for them. They have not had good luck in that, in my case, from watching them, but there's still a lot of baseball to go, and this is a good week. The Cubs and the Rangers, these are great tests for the Jays as they try and find their form. When they get Jimenez, when they get Springer back, I think to me are the biggest questions. They want their best lineup to put forward. So a good benchmark on the weekend, but not a good preview for me.
CFL, NFL, hockey talk on the way. But we'll mention this. James is the PA announcer for the Moose Jaw Miller Express and on the board of the club. I am the play-by-play voice of the team. Season came to an end Saturday night in dramatic fashion. We don't have a ton of time in this segment, but James, this Miller team, as I learned from you at the team wind-up last week, that they're the youngest team in the league. Yeah, here we go. 2 minutes to go in this segment. A walk-off grand slam by Carter Beck in the bottom of the 10th Saturday night. In Game 3, the best of 3 at Saskatoon. It doesn't get much more dramatic than that.
No, I mean, it was just a great game, right? Miller's up 3-0, then it's 3-3, they're down 5-3, they're down 10-3, and then, score 9 in the 8th to go up 12-10. Weston Walls, who pitched 117 pitches in Game 1 in a win, just couldn't hold on. And then Carter Beck, the Saskatchewan product, with a grand slam walk-off. You don't see that too often. The Millers, a young team. A lot of sophomores, a lot of freshmen, so a lot of guys eligible to come back. Saskatoon's a really good team. Had the loss against Regina in Game 1 of the East Final yesterday, but it was a great series for a young Miller team. It was not the end that they wanted, but they showed a ton of character, and I think that's a big thing for the organization and those young guys.
This is the Western Canadian Baseball League, everybody, and to say that it's gripping the prairies may be an overstatement, but I'll tell you, in my world it is, in James's world it is, and I went for breakfast yesterday at Smitty's here in town. Everybody was talking about the game. They're so proud of the Millers, right? They love this team in this town.
Western Canada, I think Canada as a whole, and Western Canada in particular, doesn't get credit for the quality of baseball they have in the summertime. We're a hockey country, but there is some great summer baseball in Canada and in Western Canada. It is a lot of American players that come up, but there are some great Canadian players. They go with Carter Beck for the Saskatoon Berries. This is a great league. It's great baseball. I would encourage anybody to go out and watch if they have the chance.
Jim Barker couldn't believe it. He was here from the CFL on TSN on Friday night, was it? Or Thursday night, and he goes, there was plays being made we don't see in the majors. We'll be back right after this.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Nazareth's Canadian Farewell Tour is coming to Moose Jaw. Live at Temple Garden Center, October 17th. With special guest, Lee Aaron. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or sasktix.ca.
Welcome back, everybody. It's the RP Show on a Monday. And let's remind ourselves, it is the Rod Pedersen Show. It's not Sports Center. It's Rod and his buddies talking sports for 2 hours every day on Game Plus TV. And that includes James Gallo today, the voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors. And what I'm getting at, James, is last night I went for supper for the very first time ever at Hopkins Dining Parlor. Okay? Over a 100-year-old building. It's been a restaurant since 1971. The ancient building, haunted. And I got to say, there was a lady doing tarot card readings on the second floor. Do you know Carol? I said, can I get a reading? She's like, are you on TV? I'm like, yes, I am. She goes, I watch you every morning. Carol said here on Game Plus TV. So hi, Carol. When I left last night, I said, I'll see you in the morning. Hopkins Dining Parlor, James. How come you've never told me about this?
It's one of Saskatchewan's most haunted places, actually. My wife, her friend, years ago used to work there and has seen silverware fly, has seen plates clatter around. So it's pretty neat. Good for wings, right? Yeah, Hopkins, it's a unique little place, just like in a house. It's pretty cool.
The potato skins were to die for. I'm sure you've had those. Yeah, it was amazing. So Hopkins Dining Parlor, RP Show approved. Now, we've been talking a lot of baseball here. And James and I are now hockey and baseball guys. I've, of course, got the football in me. I don't know how much you do. How much did you follow much of Week 10 of the CFL? Because there's a case to be made. It might have been the greatest week in CFL history, James. That all 4 games combined margin of victory, combined 9 points in the CFL last week.
And I think that's. I'll admit, I'm not the biggest watcher. I'm pretty in depth with the Western Canadian Baseball League when it's on. That takes top priority for me. But I think if the CFL can jump on a weekend like that and promote it to the average fan as to this is why you need to watch us, I think that can bode well for the CFL.
Well, I got something here that James is going to love, so you just hang on. It's CFL related, and I know that you'll have a take, and I know it'll be great. But for the CFL fans that are watching, and I know you know these scores, I'm going to tell everybody. In overtime, the week kicked off Thursday night in overtime in Hamilton. BC comes back to beat the Tiger Cats 41-38. Friday night, my guy, mine Cody, Cody Fajardo leads the Edmonton Elks on a last-minute drive in Montreal to win 23-22. Sensational. And then a Saturday doubleheader, come back by Ottawa. I think they were down like 22-1 in the first half. And they won in Toronto 46-42. And then Calgary on a last-second field goal by Rennie Paredes beat Winnipeg 28-27 to sweep the season series against the Bombers. So those were the scores. But this morning, CFL on TSN's Luke Wilson felt the need to announce on Twitter that he is no longer going to tweet about the CFL. He's like, something like the Lord giveth, now he taketh away. And that's got everybody going off. You and I have had the talks about Luke Wilson in the press box at Ross Wells Park this year. So what do you think about this guy, the biggest media sensation in the Canadian Football League this season?
I think I'm a fan of Luke Wilson to begin with. Watch him during the NFL season a lot. I like his takes. I like his views. I know he's really dove into the CFL a lot this season, which I think if it's brought more attention to your game, I think it's a good thing. Everybody has their take as to what is wrong or right with the CFL. I think one thing that people will always say, it's the marketing that needs to improve. Luke Wilson, I think, whether you like what he's saying or dislike what he's saying, you're talking about what he's saying, and that is a good thing for the CFL. I think if he's not going to tweet about the CFL, I don't think that's a good thing. Because as much as people don't like his hot takes, his video takes were also very good, breaking down plays, showing things that he likes. You can't lose a media guy, whether you don't like his opinion or not. He does bring an opinion that some people will talk about. And again, I've enjoyed Luke Wilson. I think he's brought a lot of extra attention to the CFL, which, again, for my opinion, I think is a good thing.
James, but you're the quintessential guy. You just said it. You're not the biggest CFL follower. Yeah. Okay, baseball and hockey are your thing, but you're dialed in on everything he says. That's the thing that drives me nuts. Do you not understand that, people? The diehards don't like it. But Luke's resonating with the people outside the diehards. That's what you would want. Viewer Reg writes in and says, the commish told him to zip it? And Carlos in Indianapolis goes, that's my guess. So here's the thing about Luke Wilson. First, okay, number one, I'm like, what a diva move to announce he's not going to tweet about the CFL anymore. Like, DQ, drama queen. You don't need to tell everybody, number one. But number two, you and I talked about his Twitter wars. Like, I don't get into Twitter war. I haven't in over a decade. I didn't know there was still a thing. It's so distasteful. But that's me. Yeah. And you just said, Luke's dissection of the games is so great. But you got to take the bad with the good. He is a hot mess when it comes to social media. He can't stay within the lines. That's not him.
But you have to understand, Rod, in social media, there are no lines, right? The only lines that you have are the lines that you put on yourself. I'm the same way, right? I on my social media, I like interacting with fans as much as I can during hockey season. That's when I'm probably at my peak. But I also know that there's certain lines that I don't need to go down, whether it be political or a hot take on something. Yep. Why? I don't need that. The world's got enough negativity as it is. In the case of Luke Wilson, again, I am the average CFL fan, right? That's what I would classify myself as. And if I'm talking about it, if I'm coming to Ross Wells Park to get ready for a baseball game with you, and we're talking about the CFL, Luke Wilson has done his job. He has me engaged in what he's saying. So to me, I would view that as a positive. The league needs more of that, because you're right. Diehards will dive into whatever. They will have their view. They'll have their perspective. You won't be able to change them at all. Good luck with that. The CFL needs average fans to come back a little bit more. There was a time where I was a diehard CFL fan, followed it as much as I possibly could when I covered it here at the radio station in town. But since then, it's kind of lost me, right? I mean, I enjoy watching the Riders when I have a chance. I've got some good friends that work for the Riders, and I want to cheer for them. But overall, it's like, you got to do more to engage me and my family, because dollars and cents are hard to come by now. And if you're not, why do I want to spend my money with you? Why do I want to take my wife and two kids to a football game and spend $200 or $300 of my money when I could spend it somewhere else. The CFL, the Western Hockey League, the NHL, all these leagues need to justify that spending. To me right now, the CFL with Joe Average just isn't doing that at the peak, in my opinion.
Right. Sure, but here's Luke that's got you paying attention.
He's got me paying attention, right? Like I want to see, I want to know what he's saying next. And again, the Twitter wars, I just like watching from the sidelines, right? Those are fun to watch. But I have enjoyed Luke's takes on some of his videos. Some of the videos he puts out dissecting plays, I enjoy that because it helps me learn a little bit more about the game from a guy who, whether you like him or not, he knows the game more than 95%. He played the game at the highest level, so that people can't dispute that. So I enjoy watching those videos, and if he's able to engage me in those videos, he's done his job, and I think I'm not the only one. So I think for the league not have Luke Wilson tweeting about them is a loss, in my opinion.
I think somebody's got to him. Who got to you? John Ohm says, I'm getting tired of Luke Wilson, in all honesty. When did he become an expert on the business of the CFL? Stick to the play and the players. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Bill in the Queen City writes and he says, Luke Wilson is just a part of the change in the way TSN puts on the show. Now, I love you, Bill, but what James is saying is, it's clear that TSN's trying to make a change in what they do, but I think they would like Luke Wilson on the sidelines has given really good analysis. He's awesome on there, man. He's a star. He's not going away. I don't know where this is going. I don't think he knows where it's going. But if you could just stay off the Twitter, can you stop fighting with everybody and referring to this league kind of as a beer league? Could you do that? I'm not sure he can do that.
It's 100% right, Rod. I think it's when an athlete goes to the next level of his career, and for a lot of the guys, it's broadcasting, they need to find their shtick, and their shtick at times won't resonate with everybody. What a pro football player or NHL player does in the booth may not resonate with you and I, because we're probably critiquing them from a broadcasting perspective and we're not liking what they're doing. But they need to find their shtick. Remember Tony Siragusa? It took a little while for everybody to warm up to him when he made the jump to sidelines. I enjoy him, right? Is seeing guys, crack open a turducken on Thanksgiving in the NFL. Is that everybody's cup? No, but engages fans. I enjoy watching. It's fun. I'll probably, I don't watch it that much, but still, for Luke Wilson to find his shtick in the CFL, it will benefit the CFL. Because you're right, TSN needs to find ways to engage the CFL viewer a little bit more. TSN, whether people want to admit it or not, they helped make the World Junior Hockey Championships what it is today with the coverage that it's given over the 25 years that they've had the coverage. If they can try and find that formula with the CFL and draw it to new heights, I think it's only benefiting the CFL. I think Luke Wilson has a plan. I do agree with your listener, right? Stick to the play, stick to what you know, right? He knows football. You don't need to maybe, get into the Twitter wars. I like hey, I'm in this city, what does it have to offer? I like it when guys do that.
Yeah.
I think for Luke to do that, who's maybe hasn't been to Regina or Saskatoon too much, is good. But Luke Wilson's a good thing for the CFL if he can find his shtick and find his role within the TSN.
He's trying to find it, and he has not quite found it yet. By the way, Allie has just shown up from Texarkana. Hey, Allie, you showed up at a good time because we got James Gallo with us, the voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors. And in the next segment, we're going to be talking some hockey. She comes here to get hockey. She lives in Texarkana, Texas, James. Just so you know, you're not getting a lot of hockey talk.
Sounds like my kind of gal all the way down in Texas.
Yeah, she's awesome. And she's a Stars fan, if you like the Stars at all.
Yeah.
Ryan in upstate New York says, I miss Tony Siragusa. He was a blast. Rest in peace.
Awesome.
It's funny that you brought up the Goose because when Luke Wilson started this, I'm like, if I was trying to relate him to our American viewers, he's like Tony Siragusa if you stretched him.
Yeah.
He's not round. He's very tall and thin. Other than that, they do the same job, but they don't look the same. Aircore writes in, he says, I like the CFL before Luke Wilson and will like the CFL after Luke Wilson.
Which is awesome. And that's fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, by the way, so Shai writes in from Saskatchewan. We're going to get to the NFL here, too. Actually, right now, Shai says, what's with this 70-yard field goal? or was it 76 yards? It was from Cam Little. Of all the preseason games in the NFL, the one thing everybody's talking about is the 70-yard field goal by Cam Little for the Jaguars on Saturday.
Amazing.
It would have been an NFL record if it was regular season, but it's preseason, so it won't. That's our poll question for today for EMJ Marketing. Should it be an NFL record because it was in the preseason? How are you voting, James? Yeah, say why.
No, it shouldn't. No, why? Because it's preseason. Preseason records don't count, right? It's you want to make it a preseason record, that's fine, but preseason's preseason. That's where you do your experimenting, is in preseason. Regular season is when you see if it works. So experiment in preseason, record shouldn't count.
Last I saw, the results were like 50%, 50-50 on that. And I don't like to be that guy. Well, because I like everybody's opinion. We're inclusive here. But it's like, if you think that should count as an NFL record, then you don't understand how things work because you didn't have the best players on the field. What's interesting about that, though, is playoffs doesn't count to the record book either. It counts as playoff records, but not regular season records. It's totally different. But it's rookies out there. It's 2s and 3s. It's not 1s. And that's why it cannot count as an NFL record. But it was 70 yards by Cam Little. So we'll talk about that. Carlos in Indianapolis writes in, he says he can try it again in the regular season or playoffs.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. You have the James Gallo stamp of approval. Wayne in BC says there's no pressure on the kicker in the preseason.
I agree. There's no pressure.
Not as much.
It's preseason, right?
It's still pressure. Okay, we'll be right back. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming and on all major podcast platforms.
Country's hottest party is coming. James Barker Band, Bud Light Buckle Up Tour 2025. Live across Canada with special guests Ryan and Rory. November 20th, Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca. James Barker Band Live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video. so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Welcome back, everybody. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network. We have a plethora of messages to get to on the Western Dodge text line and via the YouTube chat. By the way, please like, share, and subscribe. We don't ask for a lot, but can you please do that if you're watching the streaming today? James Gallo with us, the voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors. And that's because Moose is away at the Jook Canada Games. James, this ain't too hard, and it goes fast, doesn't it? We're in the last segment already. This ain't too hard.
Nice and easy. Good way to start the week.
Yeah, it is. Thank you for helping me out, by the way. And before
Anytime.
we do get to the hockey, we do have a lot of hockey fans that have logged on here. And we will get to a lot of CFL chat later once James adjourns. But I don't know if I ever asked you if you have an NFL team. You know, me and Tuna, your old co-worker Tuna, we're Cowboys fans. Who's your team?
I'm a big Bills guy. You know what? And there's been a lot of Bills Mafia members come out in Moose Jaw over the last couple of years. We've come out of the woodwork, which is kind of nice. So our wagon's tied to Josh Allen. And we'll be ready to roll.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. I see
Nothing
them
wrong.
picked, as they are every year, to win the AFC East. I mean, for you, I got to think you were in a spot as a Bills fan, and we have a lot of viewers in Southern Ontario that would qualify with you as Bills fans. You're just waiting for playoffs, I would assume. That's kind of a given.
No, nothing's a given, especially in the NFL, Rod. Right? I mean, that's a league where anything could happen. So I think it's week by week and get better and better. And I think it's live and die and jump on some tables and eat some wings, and we'll be ready to go when week one kicks off. But it's going to be fun. It gets pretty intense in my house. I got two girls, and they've all of a sudden over the last couple of years, since Mr. Kelsey and Miss Swift got hooked up, they're big Kansas City fans, and there's been a couple of times where I've banned Taylor Swift in my house for a week. I've thrown the hat. It gets pretty intense. So we'll get ready. We'll get ready for it.
Well, here was my takeaway from the weekend, by the way. The Cowboys lose at the Rams on Saturday. I think it was 31-21. And I heard after the game, Dak Prescott, our quarterback, who didn't even play, said to the Rams players, "See y'all in the NFC Championship." I was reading that today in the USA Today, and the reporter said the last time the Cowboys were in the NFC Championship was 1995, the second season of the television series Friends, which was canceled 20 years ago. And hey, Dak, just get to the playoffs. Stop running your mouth. It's
right.
embarrassing. Yeah, stay healthy. How about that?
Right. So he gets $60 million a year, something like that. I think Dak is. I mean, again, just some humility and with some being a little humble is never a bad thing, right? Week to week is what Dak should be going. Who knows how serious he was, but if that's legitimately what he was saying, oh boy, that's bad karma.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. It's like Matthew Tkachuk saying to McDavid in the handshake line 2 Stanley Cup Finals ago, "See you next year." Well, Chucky he can say that. Dak cannot. Your boy Kletzel's over here laughing. He's loving it. Running his shooting camp over here. You know who that is. Here at the
Who's
Golden
that? Which
Ticket
one?
Center.
Old one, or young one?
The young one.
Oh, okay.
I think he's watching
well,
the
if it's
show
the old
right
one, if it's the old one, I would say him getting physical activity isn't really a common thing, but the young one does, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan in upstate New York says, "I was really impressed with my New York Jets. They played really well, but they have plenty to clean up before September 7th. Regardless, it's Victory Monday. Love it." Allie says, #here we go. Yeah, her Steelers won at the Jaguars. We're sitting here talking about a field goal by the losing team. Carlos in Indianapolis says, "What else is he supposed to say? We're going 500 this year?" No, Carlos. How about don't say anything? How about don't say anything?
The last thing you should ever do as an athlete or as a manager, as a coach, to me, again, everybody's different, but I always view is you never want to give bulletin board material to anybody. right? I mean, it's one of those things. I'm a very humble individual, so that's the last thing I would be saying. No one's going to say, hey, go 500 or whatever. Like, no one's going to say that either. That to me is a little bit out there. But hey, just have a good season. We'll see you when you see you. You don't see you in the NFC Championship game. Now you got to put your money where your mouth is. And when you make $60 million a year, that mouth hasn't been running too much as of late. So I mean, he's got nothing to back it up. Right?
You're like your mentor, Rob Carney, who was on here not that long ago. You guys never get in trouble. It's the loudmouths like me that are always getting in trouble. But I don't do that anymore. It's really weird with these baseball fans of the WCBL saying, you're very respectful to both teams. You do such a very classy, respectful job. I'm like, well, you should have known me 20 years ago. But that's why I'm saying
it's all this time in Moose Jaw you're spending. It's all this time in Moose Jaw that you're spending there, Rod. So there you go. We're bringing you back down,
I love it.
So it's good.
You can tell. Yeah, I love it. That's not a secret. Hey, listen, while I got you here, one thing I love about this town of many is that it's a hockey town. They're talking hockey every single day. And I don't know how much Allie in Texas cares about this, but it's a big deal. The NCAA stealing the best players, throwing all the money at them. I just wonder how you think that's going to – the best players, and Allie knows this. She's a big enough fan. They're jumping from major junior hockey in Canada to go to NCAA in the States for – well, up to $900,000 now is what I heard Gavin McKenna got at Penn State. What's that going to do to major junior hockey in Canada, please, James? You work in it. You must be concerned.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I'll be honest, there's very little that I can say about this because of my job in hockey, so I can't say much about it. I think what I can say is that this is such an unknown, right? This is such an unknown on both sides of the border as to what is going to happen. I do agree that it is a little, scary when you're losing some of these guys. But I mean, that's they wanted options, and now they have options. I think I'm not sold if it's for everybody, because it's not, right? I mean, back in the day when it was either playing the Western Hockey League or playing the NCAA, go Junior A with the hopes of playing the NCAA. Not every road is the best road for everybody. And I think each player needs to look at it. Now, if you're doing it for financial reasons, then that's your decision. If you're doing it for hockey reasons, then again, that's your decision. I think there's some conversations that each player needs to have with their parents, with their agent, with their advisor, with whomever they need to have it with, to make the best decision that they can make that affects them long term. Because short term can cause a lot of problems long term either way, right? Again, I have to be careful of everything that I say on this, but I think the players just need to have open conversations so they can make what they feel is the best decision for themselves. It's not an easy one, but Rod, it's unfair that we ask these young guys to grow up so fast. Our league is 16 to 20, in case people down south don't know. We're 16 to 20. Guys will move away. They'll play away from home, a couple of provinces away. It is unfair to ask a 17-year-old to mature faster than what I had to mature. I was thinking of a lot of different things, but these guys that are making these decisions, Western Hockey League, Junior A, USHL, wherever they're going to play, they're big boy decisions and they have to make them. And that's one of those things my dad always taught me, is that look at the situation. If you're going to have regret, it's not the right situation. So I hope a lot of these guys staying or going don't have regrets, because if you do, it's not a good thing. So
no.
Again, I can only say so much just because of my position, but still, it's difficult. It's definitely difficult.
James Gallo, the voice of the Moose Jaw Warriors, with us, and we're into the just final couple minutes with him. And you said it very well. The fact of the matter is, I still see myself as a junior hockey guy, although I'm not earning a paycheck from it, so I don't really care as much. But you still want to sell tickets. You still want people tuning into your broadcasts, right? So we need to ensure that they're marketing the best quality of hockey in Canada.
It's one of those things, Rod, where the leagues are losing players, but in the same sense, you got to look at they're also gaining players, both Canadian and American, that will come in. Will the league get a little bit younger? Sure. I think that's what's going to happen in the short term is this league is going to get a little bit younger. But there's leagues like the USHL and the NAHL that might have bigger issues because it might be their players that are coming into Canada now to play. So you'd like to have everybody have the right answers, but I still think there's too many questions and not enough answers as it revolves around the NCAA and major junior hockey players.
Well, it's shifting mightily, and I know it's gone by most people over their heads unless you really follow it closely. But that doesn't change that it's a major, major deal. I love having James on because he's a quality broadcaster. That's what we do. I got through all my topics with James in 40 minutes, and now you can get on the highway. James, thank you, my man.
Anytime, Rod. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your summer, Moose Jaw.
I plan to. Thank you so much. Maybe you and I can get to Hopkins. Let's plan that.
100%.
We'll be back,
I'm
everybody,
there.
with a viewer takeover sports update right after this.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We're live from the Golden Ticket Sports Center. Make your birthday unforgettable here at the Golden Ticket Sports Center. Book your birthday party with us for fun-filled celebration packed with sports, games, and endless excitement. Visit GoldenTicketSportsCenter.com to reserve your spot today. If you've figured this out by now, now's the time to get your comments to me if you want them read on the air. But a big thank you to James Gallo. He was the very first one to welcome me into the Moose Jaw Millers family. When I got up to the broadcast booth last season, there was a name bar with Pedersen there. And I went into James. I said, who's behind this? He's like, you're part of the family now. 2 seasons just completed. Now the second season Saturday night, and I hope to be back next summer as well. I just love this town so much. And James is such a great guy. From the text line. Oh, and by the way, speaking of having a quality broadcaster on the air, we got through all of our topics with James, wrapping it up right on time. So that's what our messages have come in from the viewers. We started with the Blue Jays. They won 5-4 in a wild ending in L.A. at the Dodgers to avoid a sweep on Sunday. Chris in Heidelberg, Ontario writes in on the Western Dodge text line, and he says, I love baseball statistics. A pitcher can walk 5 guys in 2/3 of an inning over 2 different innings and get the win. Sure. Mark in Burlington, Ontario writes in, he says, Rod, that was the best weekend of Canadian football I've ever seen. What a fantastic league we have. Oh, and by the way, you want to give a shout out for Canadian football. How about Taylor L. Gersma getting into that game for the Packers? I mean, I'm not obviously following what's going on in Green Bay Packers camp. Taylor L. Gersma got into a game. First Canadian university grad to play in an NFL preseason game since 1982. So on both sides of the border, it was amazing. Kirk in Toronto writes in, he says, hi, Rod. Nick Arbuckle is not the problem. He's talking about the Toronto Argonauts. He throws for over 300 yards per game. Their special teams and defense suck. Now, I watched that one. It was a great Saturday of sports watching. And, Toronto got up to the big lead, 22-1 in the first half over Ottawa. And I think we all thought the Red Blacks were dead. That rally coming back under Drew Brown, a 46-42 Ottawa victory. It was a battle of 2-6 teams. It was oddly entertaining for 2 junk teams based on their record. It was, for those uninitiated, all 4 games, if you add up the margin of victory, combined 9 points. I don't know if that was the greatest weekend of CFL play ever. Got to be close. The games all went down to the final minute. Scott in Moose Jaw writes in on the Western Dodge text line and says, great day, Roddy. You remember MC Hammer? Hammer time? Well, now it's Roddy time. He says, Luke Wilson is great. Luke Wilson is great. But for those that weren't watching earlier, and maybe if you don't have a Twitter account, believe it or not, there are people that don't. The CFL on TSN sensation, Super Bowl winning tight end with the Seattle Seahawks, as of this morning, announced he's no longer tweeting about the CFL. If you're following this, it's a hell of a story. We don't have a Media Person of the Year award like the NFL does. Pat McAfee has won it for the last several years that I've been paying attention. CFL, we used to have the Gibson's Finest Reporter of the Year, but they don't even do that anymore, I don't think. And what's the criteria for that? But Luke Wilson would win it this year if there was an award for the Media Person, but he had to shut it down. Like, I'm sitting back here with a lot of things going on in my life, and what I'm watching too, going, is 2025 the year where the laws of the universe change? That Luke Wilson can come out and throw all this crap against the wall and expect to not have to answer for it or pay for it? Like I tried, and David Benefield tried, and a lot of guys tried. He's not saying anything new. Luke Wilson. Benefield said that. I said it for years. I got tired of fighting with everybody, being cracked down on by my bosses, and I'm like, and the CFL itself. And so Luke says some very positive things. He said Cody Fajardo's a baller. He goes, don't go by the narrative created by the CFL on TSN panel. I'm like, aren't those your coworkers? But you're right. You're right. But there was a baseball coach at Dickinson State University in North Dakota named Kylie Yates, who said, being right ain't a full-time paying business. That was 30 years ago. The laws of the universe have not changed to the point that you can go spouting off the truth and not expect to have to pay the piper. I think the tab came due. That's the sense that I get for Luke Wilson. I don't know. Sometimes he DMs me, sometimes he doesn't. I still got a job to do. I don't care whether you like me or you don't. I think we've established that. Allie in Texarkana writes in. Oh, sorry, Allie from Sherwood Park. Another Allie. She says, good morning from Allie and Kev at the lake. All the CFL games were outstanding. We were so happy for Cody Fajardo getting the win. Cheered and jumped so much when Edmonton won that. I thought I felt, so I had to send a message to say, yeah, I was okay. I thought I fell. Have a great week. Yeah, let's just celebrate the good. Let's celebrate the good. The games were amazing. I mean, there's definitely several layers of this. Because I'm sitting there watching the Calgary-Winnipeg game going, this game's sensational. The crowd is pathetic. You don't need me talking about that, though. Laverne in Swift Current writes in and says, the thing I think that's the coolest in the Western Canadian Baseball League is that they use wood bats. Not sure all your viewers are aware that they do. Nothing sounds better than a deep drive to left center off a wooden bat versus a ting off an aluminum bat. Right? The league's just rocking. It's rocking, the Western Canadian Baseball League. And it's a privilege to be a part of it. It's an honor to be the voice of the Moose Jaw Miller Express because they are first class. They've treated me great since the moment I showed up in town. Shy in Saskatchewan writes that he says, the Gibson Award. What, you get a bottle for the award? You do, and I was there the time Herb Zurkowsky was named the Gibson's Finest Whiskey Reporter of the Year. I was at the brunch, Grey Cup Sunday. They presented it with him. He had to give a speech, Herb of the Montreal Gazette, and if you know him, he got up to the mic and goes, well, you guys finally got it right. That's Herbert for you. Ken in Mississauga writes in and says, maybe TSN does not want their own analysts putting down a product they're paying for. Who knows? He's been tweeting the same thing since week 1. It's now week 11. 902-518-3033, Western Dodge text line. Drive with confidence. Shop Western Dodge and Moose Jaw. Financing, selection, and service you can count on. Oh, I send, hit refresh, and there's a million more messages here. Let me do a sports update first, okay? The Toronto Blue Jays have the day off today after winning 4 of 6 games in their road trip to Denver and L.A. They swept the Rockies, lost 2 of 3 to the Dodgers. They open a 3-game series at Rogers Center against the visiting Chicago Cubs Tuesday. The Boston Red Sox, who have now lost 2 in a row, visit the Houston Astros tonight in one of 11 games. The Astros lead the AL West by a half game over the Mariners, who have won 7 straight. And Yankees manager Aaron Boone was ejected for the 5th time this season in the 3rd inning yesterday against the Houston Astros. Boone was ejected 6 times last season and 44 times since becoming manager in 2018. Yankees 6.5 behind the Blue Jays in the AL. One thing I've learned, it's like a baseball thing. I feel like if you were getting kicked out in hockey this much, you would be suspended or something. But in baseball, it just keeps happening over and over and over again. Is there a rule that there's only a certain amount of times you can get kicked out? Because our guys here at Moose Jaw, I think it was 7 ejections of our coaches. I'm like, we must be leading the league. And the coaches said, no, we're nowhere near the lead. The 51's lead. Oh, okay. I'm just going to blow this because I can. The Canadian Elite Basketball League is preparing for the playoffs in its 7th season with this year's single elimination format set to tip off on Thursday in a play-in doubleheader. On Thursday, the Eastern Conference play-in game features the Montreal Alliance visiting the Scarborough Shooting Stars at the Toronto Pan Am Sports Centre. Immediately afterward, the Western Conference play-in tips off at 9:30 Eastern at Calgary's Winsport Arena, where the Surge will host the Edmonton Stingers. Ottawa Blackjacks and Vancouver Bandits are waiting in the respective conference finals for the winners of the play-ins. The sports headlines are for Cool Bet Canada. Get a welcome bonus up to $200 with the promo code RP200 at coolbet.com. We'll be getting heavily into the betting come NFL season. You're welcome. 902-518-3033. Darcy in Grand Prairie, Alberta, writes in and says, more Luke Wilson, please. And says a slap shot with a wooden stick is right up there with the crack of a wooden bat. Right? Daryl Slade, Calgary Stampeders historian, writes in. He says, hi, Rod. In the CFL game at Calgary on Saturday, Winnipeg Sergio Casillo kicked the CFL record-tying 63-yard field goal with 61 seconds to go. But the Stampeders came back to win 28-27. I know that. We read that earlier. And by the way, you said a record tire, 63. Daryl, you're the stats guy. Did he not tie Paul McCallum? Or was Paul's 62 yards? Because I called that one. I remember that day. Does Paul still have the record? Or did somebody else boot a 63-yarder since? But yeah, we talked about this off the start. Noni in Calgary writes in. She says, morning, Rod. My head is spinning from all the sports you discussed with James Gallo, but I love it all. I'm sorry Moose Jaw got eliminated. Do you think the Berries are destined to win the WCBL championship this year? Well, they had the best record in the league. That's what we have to go by. They set a record with 47 wins. League record. Statistically, they're the best team in the league. So, but they're down 0-1 in the East Final. Game 2 tonight in the Queen City. El Sasco, hang on. We'll get to your text message coming up when we open up hour 2. And we will be joined by Mo Egger, by the way, from ESPN Cincinnati. And I'm very, very, very excited about Tuesday's guest. I'll tell you about that when we come back for hour 2. We're live here on the Game Plus Television Network, streaming live and found on all major podcast platforms.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Hi, everybody. Welcome inside for hour 2 of the RP Show. Let's ring the bell. That's bell-worthy, I would say. Live at the Golden Ticket Sports Center. If you want to hear some stories, and I got a good one coming up, now's the time to reach me on the Western Dodge text line, 902-518-3033. Shout out to the guys and gals at Western Dodge. We were there on Saturday for the Customer Appreciation Day. Had a hamburger and a hot dog. I did pound down a hot dog, and it was amazing. Where do we go from here, caller? As John Frenzy used to say. I think what we should do is re-up the Quick Six show topics. This is what we've been talking about today. Get settled. You're late. Number 1, the Toronto Blue Jays. What a thriller at LA on Sunday. 5-4 victory. And they avoided a sweep, coming home, and they're back at Rogers Center this week with a huge series coming up. We open with baseball. Western Canadian Baseball League playoffs continue. My Moose Jaw Miller Express had their season come to a very painful conclusion. Last year, more painful, but this is still quite painful. Saturday night, Game 3 of the best of 3 at the Berry Patch in Saskatoon. Bottom of the 10th inning. Carter Beck, you heard me talking about him the last couple of years, launches a Beck bomb, walk-off grand slam in the bottom of the 10th. Season over. Nothing for the Millers to hang their head about. Point 3 was the Canadian Football League Week 10, which we'll get into more of this in this segment before Mo Egger joins us from ESPN Cincinnati, my good friend, ESPN 1530. We're going to be talking a lot of NFL with Mo Egger coming up. But 9 points combined was the point separation, margin of victory in the CFL in Week 10. Daryl Slade, you're the stats guy from Calgary who's watching on Game Plus TV right now. Was that not the best week of CFL football ever? And we can sit and talk about the games, and God knows a lot of the people here are. Good and bad. If your team won, you're excited. If your team lost, you're mad. But probably the biggest news to come out of the CFL this morning is Luke Wilson announcing he will no longer tweet about the CFL from the CFL on TSN. I'm just going to say it because it's fun. You're a Super Bowl winning tight end. Don't get your feelings hurt. It's kind of a drama queen move to announce that you're not tweeting about the CFL anymore, right? Those people that say, I'm going to take a Twitter break. Not him specifically, but those that say that. I'm taking a social media break. This is too much for me. Maybe just go. Why do you feel the need to announce it? But that's Luke. He likes to stir it up. I get that. I come from that school, but I also know you get battered and bruised. So I don't want to go back to that school. On the Castillo kick, tying the CFL record, Noni in Calgary is watching, and she says, indeed, he tied Paul McCallum's record on Saturday. I remember that day. Paul McCallum and I were so close for so many years. He set that record. I got a few stories here. 63-yarder, and then for a long time after, he would sign autographs. Paul McCallum, 63. Which he should. He set the record. But after he missed that field goal in 2004 and had manure dumped on his lawn outside of his Regina home, I know that sounds hard to believe, but it happened, and a lot of people remember it. A week later, we went to the Pump Country Roadhouse, McCallum and I. I know, shocking, I know. And some guy came up and spat in his face. I saw it. I also saw that with my own eyes. It's a tough place. It can be a tough place. Kirk in Toronto. Well, hang on. I'll finish this up. NFL preseason coming out of the weekend. I gave my thoughts last hour. We'll get into it more with Mo Egger next segment. But Cam Little's 70-yard field goal for the Jaguars is not an NFL record because it was preseason. But if it happened in the regular season, it would have been a record. That's our poll question. Should this stand up as an NFL record, even though it was a preseason? Shockingly, the results are like 50-50. Because the correct answer is no. That's why it's not an NFL record. You're not playing ones versus ones. It's an exhibition game. It's practice with the lights on. Kirk in Toronto says, hey, Rod, it was unbelievably hot at BMO Field on Saturday. The Argo defense sucks, and the Heat finished them off. They looked gassed. Yeah, well, both teams had to play in it. Brother Sasko writes in, 902-518-3033, says, hi, Rod, can you turn around and drain a three-pointer before you head back to Florida? It's my make-a-wish. Woo! Thanks, Brother Sasko. Well, number one, I'm not going to turn around and drain a three. Basketball is not my thing. Baseball was a bit of a stretch, but at least I'd played it up to high school. So it was not hard for me to get into baseball as an announcer. Hockey, that's my jam. Football, I spent a lot of time learning it. Basketball, homie, don't play that game. But here's the story I was talking about. Danny Barrett, when he was our head coach, this was early 2000s that this happened. We were putting together a demo to send to Sportsnet because we were going to do a Rough Riders magazine show. And one of the segments was me and Danny playing horse. Does anybody know what that is? That is a basketball game. Me and Danny. I couldn't make any shots. You would talk about draining a three. I couldn't make a layup. I'm not that coordinated to begin with. I'm sitting here playing against Danny Barrett, the pride of Boynton Beach, Florida, the current associate head coach of the Houston Texans. The whole idea was, yeah, we're going to play horse, but I'm going to interview him as we're playing. And it was on the right beside the old practice field. There was a basketball court there, the outdoor practice field beside Taylor Field. So anyways, I'm asking Danny these questions and stuff, and one of the questions I said to him was, how do you find living in Canada? Is there less racism than the U.S. South where you come from? And he just gave me this look. Okay, we're not talking about that. But I was the corn-fed white Saskatchewan farm kid. I don't know what it's like in the U.S. South. Danny, like, we're not talking about it. Okay. And to make a long story short, the show was not picked up by Sportsnet. But those segments were aired on In the Huddle, so it was great. Utah Darren writes in, he says, the best hit in the NFL preseason this weekend was the official blasting CeeDee Lamb on the Cowboys sidelines. Are you guys starting to see it yet, what's happening with the Dallas Cowboys? We haven't even started the season yet, and we have this, our best receiver colliding with a referee for what you just said, Darren, is the best hit in the preseason. We got Micah Parsons in his holdout that miraculously nobody's talking about anymore. Just so you know, that hasn't come to a conclusion. And as I said last hour, Dak Prescott, at the conclusion of Saturday's game at SoFi Stadium in L.A., the Cowboys lost to the Rams, says, we'll see you all in the NFC Championship. I read this today in the USA Today, and I'm like, I don't know the tone of how he said it, but Dak, just stay healthy. Make the playoffs. As the writer in the USA Today said today, Cowboys haven't been in the NFC Championship game since 1995, season 2 of Friends. And that's been off the air for 20 years or more. Anyways, these hockey players here, I went down and watched them this morning. That's what I'm saying bye to. The ball players are all out of town. The hockey players are now in these camps and shooting camps. Yes, Allie in Texarkana, that is a thing. So I sat there. Kletzel Hockey's putting it on. And I sat with Mr. Kletzel, which is the first time in 2 years I actually sat and watched what they were doing. Just this morning I did, because I had all my work done. Things happen real fast around the net. We all sit there 200 feet up in the press box and don't realize they got all these obstacle things out there and drills and bing, 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 bing. The puck's moving around 1,000,000 miles an hour. That's what these camps do. And I'll tell you something, for their age, their shot, wow. I will say this, personal coaching does set you apart. It sets you apart. Whether you're learning how to throw a football, shoot a puck, mental health, addiction recovery, you want to go to the next level, you might have to dig in your own pocket, but it's worth it. It happens fast down there. Paul in Humboldt writes in, he says, Saturday minus the Broncos Memorial Golf canceled due to rain. We got asked to bring the RP show up to the Humboldt Broncos Memorial Golf Tourney, but we couldn't because I was doing baseball. But send our regards. That's unfortunate. Janice in Edmonton writes in, she said, good morning, everyone. Yes, one of the greatest weekends of CFL football. Looking forward to the Labor Day Classic between the Eskimos and the Stamps. Looking forward to traveling down for a game. She's a Stampeders fan living in Edmonton. I believe her and her husband met at Grey Cup. An epic love story. North Texas Mean Green, which I would love if you identified yourself. These anonymous accounts can be real tricky, and we don't really put a lot of stock in what they say. North Texas Mean Green writes in and says, I think Rod has taken the Luke Wilson news out of context. He's not removing from CFL coverage. He's just scaling back from his Twitter usage. TSN and Wilson are still very much aligned with the CFL. I didn't say that he was not covering the CFL anymore. I didn't say that at all. I said he's not going to tweet about the CFL anymore. It's exactly what I said. Don't get it twisted. Nice try. Tony from Cochrane, Alberta, regarding all those ejections for Aaron Boone. Tony writes in and he says, I don't blame Aaron Boone one bit. The umpiring this season has been totally amateur. Wife and I are constantly yelling at the TV on the balls and strikes. Is AI the answer? We're thinking so. Well, now that I'm working in baseball, I don't have a lot of time for complainers, just so you know. Moose, my regular co-host, who, just so you know, isn't with us for a couple of weeks because he's working the Jeux Canada games in Newfoundland, says my only, what I'm guilty of is complaining about complainers. And I'm like, well, I'm okay with that. But I remember leaning over a fence last summer here in the Western Canadian Baseball League talking to a manager, and he was complaining about the umpires. And I said, well, maybe we should go robotic. And he goes, oh, no, we don't want to get rid of the human element. Newsflash, everybody. If you have humans involved, there will be errors. We're not perfect. And that completely doesn't account for personal biases, which is another thing. And I don't want to go any further down this road because the sports leagues don't like us talking about what's behind the curtain. But just hang on. Allie in Texarkana says, Cowboys fans are melting down all over my timeline. Yeah, right. Allie says, sounds like a good time. What are we talking about? The hockey shooting camp? BW writes in, he says, looking forward to hearing Mo's take on the NFL, who his surprise team is this season. 11-11 Mountain, by the way. The Angels are around you whether you know it or not. Just let them in. Just let them in. Let them do their thing. Where was I? 902-518-3033. I know Zach in Calgary wrote in earlier about the upcoming, what's going to be the game of the week. It's only Monday, brah. We're still putting last week to bed and the weekend. Daryl Slade, thank you. The historian from Calgary. He says, this is from the CFL record book. You are right. This was the best weekend. See, I don't know. I'm not that smart. We've also established that. I don't even know where to look. To ask, is this the lowest point differential in CFL history? Daryl says yes. He knows where to look. He's a smart guy. And he says that McCallum's record was 62. That also is what I thought. Rob from Windthorst, texting in Regina, writes, and he says, great show today. Did color commentary on the radio with James Gallo for a Miller's game back in the summer of 2002. A great guy and broadcaster. James Gallo was with us as our co-host to open up the show, and it went real fast. Very smart guy. He could hold his own in a conversation about baseball, football, hockey, and Luke Wilson. And for those, I know there's those CFL diehards, and I feel like I haven't seen them in any other league, but these CFL fans, they can't really look outside the tunnel and realize there are other leagues. There are other people. There are people that might not know everything that goes on in the CFL. They have a very tough time accepting that. Even accepting it, they won't even acknowledge that's a thing. But James said, he goes, I don't follow the CFL that close, but Luke Wilson's got me engaged. That's what the CFL should want. But the suits, I don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't. Luke Wilson saying this morning he's no longer going to tweet about the CFL. And this guy, North Texas Mean Green, says he's not serious. Well, you know me. You're watching this show. I'm serious with what I say all the time. So, if he comes back and starts tweeting again, that's pretty sad. George Strait lost me when he said his last concert was going to be in San Antonio in 2009 because I almost went. He's on tour now. Fool me once, Rob says, I think Luke Wilson will be back tweeting about the CFL in less than a week. Well, he has to be. That's his job. I think he's just tired of fighting with everybody. I mean, why would you get in a war with Jim Mullen, the former head of Football Canada, who called you a narcissist because of your actions? That's not fun, fighting. Mo Egger likes to fight, however, and he's coming up next from ESPN 1530 Cincinnati. Rob goes on to say, I was at Taylor Field 0-1 when McCallum nailed the 63-yard field goal. Well, Daryl Slade's saying it's 62. Ah, boy. Get your NFL questions and comments in, by the way, for Mo Egger, who will be joining us next. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says, I feel sorry for people who don't follow the CFL. Jeff, don't, because they don't feel sorry for you. Kiss at 2, Rod. Say they're going on their last tour, last show. Whatever. Can you just say what you mean? Mo Egger always does. And he is joining us next live here on the Game Plus Television Network from Cincinnati, streaming live and found on all major podcast platforms.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
The RP show continues. Hour 2 brought to you by Cool Bet Canada. Get up to $200 welcome bet bonus with the promo code RP200 at Cool Bet Canada. Mo Egger joins us, the very popular host of the Mo Egger radio show. How you doing, Mo?
I'm popular.
Hit with my viewers, you know you are. Don't play the humble card.
Wow.
You know that. You know that, Mo. How are you, buddy?
What? I'm good. Where are you getting ready to try out for the Cowboys or something? What's going on there?
That's my team.
Okay.
That's my team. I'm detaching with love. Do you know what that means, Mo? That phrase? I'm detaching with love from the Dallas Cowboys.
I've as somebody who's gone through a divorce, I do. Here's the thing. People may not know this, but you and I became friends when we found the clip of you on the internet making fun of the Bengals because they were changing their uniforms.
Yep.
And you said you see this all the time. Team changes their uniform and the team still stinks. And then the Bengals went to the Super Bowl that year. So maybe the Cowboys need to change uniforms.
They need to change a lot of things. But I'm so glad that the internet brought you and I together. And it was so awesome making your acquaintance in person at the Super Bowl a couple years ago in LA. But, the first week of the NFL preseason's behind us. Your Bengals, if I may call them that, got mollywopped by the Eagles on the weekend. Your quarterback, Joe Burrow, got into the game. What's your takeaway from that game?
Felt a lot like last year. We had seen that script play out before. The Bengals are playing their players who matter most. They're playing their starters more in the preseason because they've had such a hard time getting off to a fast start. They've started 0-2 each of the last 3 years, 0-3 last season. And so there's been an emphasis on a different type of training camp, but also on the starters playing in the preseason. So Joe played, and Joe looked like Joe Burrow. First team offense clicked. That was the case last year. Why did they miss the postseason? Because the defense was a train wreck. What happened on Thursday night? The defense was mostly a train wreck. Now, it's worth acknowledging there were some players who you expect to be on the field on September the 7th who were not on the field against Philadelphia. But, man, I think there's a lot of us who thought new defensive coordinator, a lot of the same guys. Let's see if this defensive coordinator can take some of those players and put them in a better position to have success. That didn't happen on Thursday, and so we're kind of doing what we did a lot last year, wondering, based on that one preseason game, is this going to be another year where the Bengals ask Joe Burrow to do a little bit too much?
Well, I know you talk about the Bengals ad nauseum, but that's why I have you on here to talk about the Bengals, obviously. And what was the story on Joe playing as much as he did? From what I understand, he wanted to get into the game and get the snaps, right?
Yeah. So if you go back through the first 5 years of Joe Burrow's NFL career, he's barely played in the preseason. He's had preseasons where he hasn't stepped on the field at all. And again, it comes back to the last 3 years. The Bengals offense has, in the first game of the season, looked very clunky, very unprepared. Now, part of it has been that Joe has always been coming off of something. A year ago, he was coming off of wrist surgery. The year prior to that, he had been dealing with a calf issue during training camp. The year prior to that, he had lost a lot of weight because he had an appendectomy right when training camp started. We're not dealing with any of that right now, but what you're hoping for is an offense that just operates more smoothly, operates with a little bit more cohesiveness than it has in recent years. And so the coaching staff and Joe Burrow have decided to emphasize playing him in the preseason. Now, I'm not sure he's going to play in the last preseason game, but he's going to play probably an entire half against the Washington Commanders a week from tonight. And it's not just Joe. It's the first team unit top to bottom, I think, is going to play a lot. So this is a result. I think if the coaching staff had their way, they wouldn't be doing this. But I think they're taking on the added risk of playing Joe Burrow and the other good players the Bengals have in the preseason. They're taking on that risk because they want the reward of getting off to a faster start. And let's be honest, the inability to get off to fast starts the last 2 years has kept them from the postseason, and the inability to get off to a fast start 3 years ago when they made the AFC Championship game is why that game was in Kansas City and not Cincinnati. So this team needs to play better in September, which is why more players who matter are playing in August.
Mo Egger with us from ESPN Cincinnati. Any training camp drama going on there? Did I lose you? Oh, he froze. I just looked up for a second. Did I freeze? No, we're fine. Hit refresh, Mo. There we go. Not the most flattering frozen screenshot of Mo Ager either. Hey, Mo, hit refresh. B-Man's. I can text him. Thank you, producer Corey. You're right. Ba. Please hit refresh. I always say please and thank you in my text messages. Please. It just came up as please hit Teresa. No, that's not. Autocorrect. Who's Teresa? I don't even know a Teresa. B-Mans writes that he says, the latest season of The Quarterback on Netflix made me a bigger Burrow fan, rooting for him this year. Jeff the Stamps fan says, does Mo have any comments on the death of Lonnie Anderson? Well, I do. My first crush, Jennifer Marlowe. I didn't think she'd ever die. At the age of 79, very hard to believe. Yeah, Mo's been on this show long enough and as many times that we don't get into the WKRP stuff anymore. At least we got him sitting there with a half, dopey look on his face. That's better than the black screen. Favorite WKRP character? Obviously, you know mine. Les Nessman, Herb Tarlick, Johnny Fever. Hey, there he is.
Hey, I'm back.
You got my text. Okay, I have a litany of questions from the viewers here. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Were you just talking about WKRP in Cincinnati while I was away?
Yeah, people want me to ask you about that. I said, you've been on this show many times. That's not even a thing with us anymore. Does that still come up in your life, WKRP?
Well, it did last week because Lonnie Anderson passed away. Also, we're using wireless from, I think, the same era as WKRP in Cincinnati in our building. Okay. Yeah, that when you work in radio in Cincinnati, you get that question once a day. But Lonnie Anderson passed away, who played Jennifer Marlowe on that show. And when I was 10, 11, 12 years old, that show was on first-run syndication. And I would watch it with my dad. And when Lonnie Anderson shows up on your TV screen and you're 11 years old, you start to feel things, Rod. I don't need to go into great detail, but you start to feel things. So, yes, we've talked a lot about that show in recent days.
She was my first crush, just so you know. Mm-hmm. So I know exactly. So the exact question from Jeff the Stamps fan says, does Mo have any comments on the death of Lonnie Anderson? I think we just heard them. I don't think we need to go any further down that road.
I have lots of comments that are probably not safe for this broadcast.
Lonnie Anderson aside, Jennifer Marlowe aside, who is your favorite character? We're assuming that's our favorite character. Her aside, who is your favorite character, WKRP?
It's got to be Johnny Fever because, you're a radio guy too, Rod. Like all of us at some point have worked with some version of Johnny Fever, right? The jock who's lived in every.
Yeah,
he's worked
20 Johnny Fevers.
Right. He's worked for 1,000 different stations. He's hopscotched around the country. He lives a little bit too hard. The Johnny Fever, all of us who have worked in radio for a while have at some point in our life, we have intersected with a Johnny Fever.
Baby, if you've ever wondered. I've worked with Les Nessmans. I've worked with Herb Tarlicks. I've worked with him. Whoever wrote that was a genius.
I've worked with a lot of Herb Tarlicks.
Right. Right. BW in Edmonton wants to know, when is Mo coming up for a CFL football game?
I haven't really gotten a form. Well, you're never actually up there. You're always, every time I watch you, you're down in Florida. You got boats going by. So when are you going to be up there? And that will inform my decision as to whether or not I'll be up there.
Well, it will take some planning, not just a willy-nilly thing. But I will tell you, was it NFL? Did you guys have a lockout in the NFL? I was trying to remember why Peter King came up as summer of 2014. He came up. Peter King did. Was it 2011? Okay.
2011, yeah.
Yeah, he went on a tour. That was cool.
Yeah. I would like to go up and see a game before Zach Collaros retires because he's a UC University of Cincinnati legend. So that would be I've been to Canada exactly twice. So I need to change that.
Where'd you go?
I went to Toronto for the International Bowl. UC, University of Cincinnati, played Western Michigan at the Blue Jay Stadium. I think they still called it Skydome then, but I don't remember. That was January of 2007. And then I went to Nova Scotia when I was a kid.
Nice, very nice part of the world. Yeah.
Very
2011.
nice. And I went to Windsor too when I was in college.
That's a very cool spot.
Yeah.
But Zach Collaros, that game that Peter King was at, Zach Collaros was quarterbacking Hamilton Tiger Cats against us, Saskatchewan. I called it, and Zach was sacked 9 times that day in a torrential monsoon, just so you know. So, he's doing good things with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Bengals aside, what's your number one NFL story this season as we get ready to kick off 2020?
So it sounds somewhat obvious, but I don't really think anybody is talking about it that much. It is in vogue to say that the Chiefs are going to miss the postseason. And I get it, right? They kind of walked a tightrope all season last year. Everybody's most recent memory of them is getting housed in the Super Bowl. But the Kansas City Chiefs had a great year last year, despite Patrick Mahomes not playing like Patrick Mahomes. And so I'll give you a little bit of a local example, if you don't mind here. The Reds had Joey Votto, Toronto native, right? For years and years and years and years. And in 2018, he had a good season, but he didn't have a good season by Joey Votto standards. And so we started to wonder, like, all right, is this a one-off? Is this an outlier? Does Joey go back to being the old Joey Votto? Do we have to sort of settle in for the new norm where Joey is good, but he's not superhuman? It's not an apples-to-apples comparison. The thing that I want to know most is, does last year's Patrick Mahomes become the new Patrick Mahomes, or does he go back to being Superman? Because, you still put the quarterbacks in the NFL in certain tiers, and most are still going to say, well, Patrick Mahomes is an A-lister. But he wasn't an MVP finalist last year. Josh Allen won the award. Lamar Jackson was. Joe Burrow was. Lamar wasn't because while he wasn't bad, he didn't play to his standards. Patrick Mahomes' season last year, most quarterbacks would give their non-throwing arm to have, but by his standard, the play wasn't nearly as good enough. What happens this year? Does he go back to being Superman, or does he have another season like last year where he's better than most, but maybe not as good as he needs to be? Among everything else in the NFL, that's what I think is most interesting. Does Patrick Mahomes play like Patrick Mahomes again? If he does, the Chiefs are going to be awesome. If he doesn't, I think they're vulnerable, and I think the way they played last year, even though they deserve a lot of credit for finding out ways to win, the way they played last year, I'm not sure is sustainable. I do think it looks like they have fixed their offensive line, but more than any other storyline in the NFL this year, I'm interested in whether or not Patrick Mahomes starts playing like Patrick Mahomes again.
2 MVP awards, 3 Super Bowls, and he stepped on the Cardinals' throat 48 seconds into the game this weekend. I think he'll be fine. Laverne in Swift Current wants to know who your surprise NFL team will be.
The New England Patriots. I think they have a great coach, a talented quarterback, and I think they had a great offseason. I think it would be unsurprising if the Dolphins were not good. I think it would be unsurprising if the Jets were not good in that division. We'll see. But I think the Patriots, I'm a big Mike Vrabel guy. Drake May, I think you walked away from his rookie season feeling like as much as they have stuff to fix in New England, they've got their quarterback. I think they had a good draft. I think they had a good offseason. I think they have a good coach. I think they have a talented quarterback. I don't think it would be surprising to see them double their win total to go from 4 to 8. And if you're at 8, then you're not that far away from at least contending for a playoff spot. They, to me, are one of the more interesting teams to watch based on what happened last year. I think they could surprise some people. I think on a weekly basis, they're going to be hard to play.
Funny what a coach can do. It's funny what a good coach can do in Mike Vrabel.
Sure.
But okay, I wasn't clear on your thought on the Dolphins. You think they're not going to be good like everybody else?
No,
I think
it would be unsurprising if they weren't good. I think it would be unsurprising if they were pretty good because they still have a good offensive weaponry. But I think I think if the Dolphins ended up a 6-win team, I don't think anybody would be shocked, right? So my point being is I think there's 4 winnable games in that division for the New England Patriots. I don't think they're good enough to beat Buffalo, but I think there's 4 winnable games in that division. If they get 3, then they've got to find 5 wins somewhere else to double their win total.
I'm not scoffing. I'm snickering a little bit because I was in Miami last year at the end of the season when Stephen Ross, the owner, announced they're keeping Mike McDaniel and Chris Greer, and they were ready to burn the stadium down. Right? Like the people there in Miami, South Florida they're raging, Mo. They're raging. I don't know what they're like in Cincinnati, but they better be good. And they're not, I don't think, gonna be good. That's a raging fan base there.
I think if we were to take odds on first coach to be fired, I think it would be not unwise to put the money on Mike McDaniel.
Everybody's we're randomly asking our NFL guys who their surprise team will be, and a lot of guys are saying Vegas. How do you feel about that?
Good, because Pete Carroll's a Hall of Fame coach. They've upgraded a quarterback. They're just in a really hard division. Kansas City is still going to be tough to play. I think there's a lot of folks who really expect the Denver Broncos to take a major step forward this year. They're certainly going to be good defensively. I like what I saw from Bo Nix last season. And then there's the Chargers. The Chargers are fascinating to me from the standpoint of they have a great coach and they have a quarterback that everybody is waiting, right? We're all waiting for Justin Herbert to enter that top pantheon of QBs, and it hasn't quite happened. They were atrocious defensively at the end of the season last year, and that was before a whole bunch of dudes left that team who were not among their worst players, including Joey Bosa. But, they're a tough out. I think the Raiders, I think that division has a very good chance. You and I talked about last year, the AFC North. Was the AFC North again going to be the best division in football? And they had 3 teams with winning records. This year, I think it would be unsurprising if we said that about the AFC West.
While I have you, because I don't know when I'll get you again. Hopefully it's soon, but I have not talked to you since Pete Rose was reinstated posthumously. Go ahead.
I'm not hard to book on the show. I might be hard to get an internet connection. All you have to do is say, Mo, do you want to come? I've never said no.
You've never said no.
Correct.
Pete Rose. Reinstatement.
Yes.
What do you think?
I think it's I think he's going to have a really hard time getting the votes needed in the committee he's going to be subjected to in the winter of 2027. I think I listened to Tim Kirchin, the great baseball writer, does a podcast, and he was talking about how he was referencing Frank Robinson. Frank Robinson is obviously passed, and Frank Robinson and Pete Rose were close. And Frank Robinson said, there are a lot of us who will say over our dead body before Pete Rose ever goes into the Hall of Fame. And I think that committee is not going to be made up of baseball writers. There's going to be a lot of Hall of Famers and former players on that committee. I think Pete's going to have a more difficult time than people think to get in. But we'll see. That's going to be up for vote in December of 2027. So we have a lot of time to debate it.
20 seconds with you. Are you voting yes or no if you had a vote?
Would I put him in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
Yes, I would put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. 4,256 hits. I would have no issue if his plaque made mention of why he was exiled from baseball, but I am of the belief that what he did statistically trumps, as a player, trumps anything he did after his playing days.
Well thought out. Well thought out. Thank you, Mo. We got to run. Great job. Keep in touch, brother. We air all across Ohio on Game Plus TV, and we'll be right back.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste. Savor. Share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
RP Show continues on this Monday. Welcome to a brand new week, everybody. Episode number 1552 of Canada's daytime sports talk show. Game Plus TV. All across Canada, coast to coast, and 32 U.S. states. Well, NFL is underway. Week one of the preseason's concluded, and we're going to be talking a lot of NFL moving into the fall. We actually have some very exciting broadcast news coming down the pipe for you, so stay tuned for that. We talk CFL more as the week goes along. I say that every week. Nobody ever pays attention, but that's just me putting it out there. Maybe one day people will pay attention to that. I know that this is where the CFL fans come to talk because nobody else is talking about it, but there's a reason for that. And I apologize for those that sent in their questions for Mo that I didn't get till the break. Rob in Regina writes, and he says, does Mo think the NFL will go to an 18-game regular season soon? I'm sorry, but I thought I read they're doing it next year. Am I not right on that? It's funny because Jim Barker asked that off. No, it was on the air on Friday when we were live from Western Dodge and Moose Jaw. Jim's like, do you think they ever will? I'm like, aren't they? Next year? Can somebody look that up? There's just so much crap and fake news out there. You don't know what to believe, but I am of the belief they're going to 18 games in 2026. Daryl Slade writes in regarding this Paul McCallum field goal that we've been discussing here today. He says, sorry, this Daryl's a historian of the Calgary Stampeders, stats guy. He says, I'm sorry, McCallum's record of 62 yards was years later reviewed and changed to 63. So I guess we can say we were all right. So on Saturday afternoon, we were all watching it. Sergio Castillo, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, kicked a 63-yard field goal that tied McCallum's record, which when I called it in whatever year that was, 03, was 62 yards. It's been changed. Why are we talking about this? Well, number one, Castillo tied it. Number two, that's our poll question today. Cam Little of the Jacksonville Jaguars kicked a 70-yard field goal in the preseason on Saturday in a loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And our question is, should that count as an NFL record? It was in a preseason game, an NFL play. It's a trick question. Of course it shouldn't count as a record because it was a preseason game. No records in the exhibition year count, nor should they, because it's not the best teams out there. Somebody wrote in earlier and said that there's no pressure on them. Well, there is, but not as much as the regular season. But I got time for the debate. It's fun. 902-518-3033. Laverne in Swift Current writes in and says, hey, RP, another great Rod Squad newsletter this weekend. Thanks again for that. Keep up the good work. Such an easy, informative read. Thank you. Well, as I said, I'm not that bright. So if you're reading what I write, it should be an easy read. Sign up for the newsletter for free at rodpeterson.com. It's got my weekend 10 things in there. We always have big fun with it. A sports update. The Toronto Blue Jays are off today after taking 4 of 6 on a road swing through Denver and LA. They swept the Rockies before dropping 2 of 3 to the Dodgers. The American League leaders host the Chicago Cubs Tuesday to start a 3-game set at Rogers Center. Jen Powell became the first woman to umpire behind the plate in a Major League game, working Sunday's matchup between the Marlins and the Braves. She had made her debut the previous day in a doubleheader, working at first base as the first female to umpire a regular season game in the majors. And to that, I would stand up and applaud if I wasn't strapped into this chair. But way to go, Jen. That's super cool. Streaming platform Paramount Plus will become the U.S. home for all Ultimate Fighting Championship events starting in 2026 under a 7-year, $1.1 billion deal with TKO Group. The agreement includes 13 numbered events and 30 fight nights each year, with some also airing on CBS. It replaces the UFC's pay-per-view model in a bid to reach more viewers nationwide. That's amazing. UFC going to Paramount Plus. What do you think the UFC is getting for that? More than they were getting from the pay-per-view. The sports update is brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. They've got it all. Use the promo code RPShow for 15% off now. Check us out at seatgiant.ca. Fun week. We'll talk about this more coming back for overtime. We're going back to Calgary, just in and out like a fiddler's elbow, in and out real fast. Going to be at Theo Fleury's golf tournament on Thursday, going live. But the rest of the week we'll be here at Golden Ticket Sports Center. Maybe sneak into overtime hockey lanes if we have time. But it's going to be another quick whirlwind trip to the Stampede City. We'll be back with overtime right after this here on Game Plus Television.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and Alateen can help.
Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge, big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. Here we go, back for overtime. Blowing the quick six show horn because I can, and it's new, and I like it. For those that are watching on streaming, you just saw the ad for Western Dodge here in Moose Jaw. We were there on the weekend for the customer appreciation with Joe, and the salespeople were like, "When are you coming back?" And I'm like, don't know. But we'll be back before summer's over, which Fake Gainer wrote in here earlier on the Western Dodge text line and said, can you go drain a three-pointer before you go back to Florida? Just so you know, I'm not in any rush to go back to Florida. Yeah, the baseball season's over, but I didn't specifically come up here last summer for baseball. I came up to get out of the Florida heat. The Millers were like, hey, we need a broadcaster. Would you be interested in doing it? Boom, Bob's your uncle, and now it's a thing. But Thursday got Theo's golf tournament. Labor Day weekend, I've got the Labor Day Golf Classic, which I host now every year with the Rough Riders alumni, Blue Bombers alumni. And then right after that, I'll be speaking to Sun Life, a corporate speaking engagement, dealing with them on the topic of leadership with Sun Life employees. And a few other things may be lining up. Now, having said that, Henry Burris and his Florida A&M Rattlers are at FAU, which is the campus and football stadium 1.8 miles from my house in Boca Raton. I'd like to be back for that game. I think it's September 6th or 7th. We'll see. But it's like almost another month I'm going to be up here enjoying this wonderful Canadian summer. So don't need to get a bunch of things out of the way. The poll question, as we referred to earlier for EMJ Marketing, is should the field goal of 70 yards by Cam Little, even though it was in the preseason, count as an NFL record? Ken in Mississauga writes in and says, I'm surprised at the YouTube poll result. It would be like recognizing records in NHL preseason. What is the latest? Ken, can you let me know? Because the last I looked, it was like 50-50. And I'm like, those that voted 50% yes are clearly wrong. And it surprises me that anybody would even think that this should be a regular season record. But it certainly got us talking. And that's what we like to do here, is get people talking. We're brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes here, the Overtime segment. Stop in and see Randy and Michelle. Back to what they're doing here. There's a training center just to my left, your right, just off camera. You can hear the guys shooting the pucks in the morning. That's a training center. And I went down there and I watched what these kids were doing. I'm like, oh my God. Intricate skill development at shooting the puck. Overtime Hockey Lanes, they don't cast any dispersions, whatever that means. Randy at Overtime Hockey Lanes is like, we're not a training center. We're here for fun. come and shoot pucks and win a chance at $500 on the Rod Pedersen Show lane and try and do the Michigan, or as the kids call it, the Michie. That's what Overtime Hockey Lanes does. Here, they're training hockey players. And, you know, when I was at that scouting banquet last week, the Hall of Fame banquet that my dad went in as a scout, and the scouts were saying, the scouts we're not looking for kids that can do the Michigan, just so you know. We're looking for the kids that can win a draw in our defensive zone with a minute to go in a 1-goal game. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for the guy that'll take the hit to get the puck out or take the hit to keep the puck in. Different strokes for different folks. 65% are saying yes, it should be an NFL record. Thank you, Ken. Chief Johnny Moe checking in from Winnipeg says, have a good day, Rod. Go Jays, go. What's a guy like you, Johnny, do when the Blue Jays aren't playing? What's a guy like you do? That is the one sucky thing. I'm not going to be going down to Curry Field to watch Regina and Saskatoon play Game 2 of the East Final tonight. No, baseball season's over for me. It's been a grind, and I just do the home games. My God, I love these players and the staff for what they go through, playing 6 games a week all over. I was saying to Joe the other day, if we did 2 or 3 road trips in a week with the hockey, that was exhausting and rare. These guys are doing it almost every night, going to those same towns. My God, that's commitment. Wayne in Victoria, BC says, this is a great Monday RP show. Always entertaining and interactive. That's what we do. We are the most interactive show on your television, and people seem to like it. But I'm serious. The Blue Jays aren't playing tonight. I don't believe that there's NFL preseason football tonight. Go to a movie, maybe? Hey, this is funny. BW says, when is Joe coming on the show? He's our business manager here. He actually was lined up to come on the show a few weeks ago. But Joe was like, the people probably don't want to see me. He is also the speaker agent for Henry Burris. So he's like, I'll just see if Hank's available. And so the day that Henry Burris came on for 40 minutes and did that great interview, Joe was going to come on. Joe has hosted a podcast in the past. It's called the Ratio Podcast on Canadian football. Ratio Podcast. He and Craig Hemingway host it. Joe will get on, hopefully before the end of the summer. I think he'd like to come on. Thanks for the question. Bomber Boy is just doing next level trolling here today. I've watched it. I haven't read much of his comments. He says, sending thoughts and prayers to anyone having to suffer through a CFL game at McDump. Even the Tarps. Yeah, I don't know what the answer there is for Calgary football. I really do not. The game was great. Looked like they had great weather. Looked like they had fantastic weather at McMahon Stadium and a tremendous game. I do not know what the answer is. I was watching the game with Joe, and he brought up he goes, I'm surprised they haven't got a new stadium there. I'm like, no, not going down that road. They're not getting a new stadium. They're building a hockey arena. Clearly, you haven't spent much time in Calgary if you think that you're going to get a football stadium there, because they are not, and it sucks for them. Kirk in Toronto writes in and he says, now that the Argos are done, I will focus my attention on the Blue Jays. 2-7, 1-7, but that's only one win behind the Argos, the Red Blacks. Don't give up, Kirk, or do whatever you want to do. You don't need to listen to me. I'm not your mom. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody, here live on Game Plus TV.
Now I'm the whore and the pimp. That's where the money is.
How about that?